There's no situation where an adult should have inappropriate contact with a minor. That needs to be said before anything here. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things in this video, and the internet loves to twist words and make up their own narratives. Dr. Disrespect did a bad thing. I'm not here to defend what he did because he doesn't deserve it. I'm also not here to dogpile on him because there's enough people doing that. I do instead want to talk about all the different thoughts that have hit my head since this news broke. Let's start with the story for the ones who have been living under a rock the past couple of days. June 21st, Twitter user named Cody Connors tweeted out this tweet talking about how someone was banned from Twitch for talking to minors. Although there was no one named directly, everybody immediately was under the assumption this was Dr. Disrespect he was talking about. This had the entire internet split. On one side is the Doc supporters who were there to have his back. On the other side, you've got people calling Doc a predator. Then there was a group of people in the middle who said, let's see what the evidence shows, which I will say I was one of those people. Shortly after, Doc responds to a Twitter account with this tweet, which didn't help his case for a lot of people. Saying no wrongdoing was acknowledged as opposed to saying I didn't do it was enough hesitation for some people to say he was guilty, or at least that something questionable was going on. Doc then tweets again the next day saying legally he's not allowed to say certain things, but reiterates that he didn't do anything wrong. No wrongdoing was found, and he received his settlement from Twitch. Again, saying no wrongdoing was found felt like diverting to some people. Then his first live stream back happens. At the end of his stream, Doc has a lengthy chat with his viewers about wanting to take a break, that the pressures of social media and the constant negativity surrounding internet culture has him fatigued and not interested in being in the limelight for the time being. He talks about thinking about stepping down from Midnight Society, which is the game studio that Doc helped start, who's currently working on the upcoming game Dead Drop. Shortly after this stream that same day, Midnight Society's Twitter page puts out this tweet saying that the team did an investigation on the situation and they made the decision to cut ties with Dr. Disrespect. All of these things making it look not good for Doc, but still nothing of physical proof in the public that these allegations happened. The next day, all of that changed when Dr. Disrespect made the tweet. And I'll leave it on the screen here for you to read through if you need to, but basically he admitted to the allegations, kind of. The original tweet said that he was sexting a minor, but in Doc's tweet, he used different words. He said that in 2017, he did have Twitch whispers with a minor, and that their conversations, quote, sometimes leaned too much in the direction of being inappropriate, but nothing more. And that's where we're at right now in the time of recording this. Other stuff may have already happened by the time this gets out, but I want to dive into all the different thoughts I've compiled so far. Now, what exactly was said in those messages, the public doesn't know, and there's a chance that we'll never know. But I think that's important. Leaning in the direction of inappropriate could mean a lot of things. Saying you look cute today is a lot different from a lot of other potential things that could have been said in those messages. And I think it's unfair to Dr. Disrespect's supporters that they don't know what was said, because to a lot of people, how they feel about him could drastically change based on that information. I personally feel like if Doc truly cares about the people who have supported him through this roller coaster of a career, he would have the integrity to let them know the severity of those messages so they can make their own moral decisions accordingly. There's going to be some who say that they don't care what the messages say, and the fact that it happened at all is enough for them to cut ties completely. And those people have every right to feel that way. But there's also going to be people who say, hey, you messed up, but how bad was it so I know where to go from here? And it's not fair that those people may never get that clarity. There's too much that's currently up in the clouds that needs addressing on a public level from somebody. But the point is, he did mess up, and he has to deal with the consequences that come with doing something wrong. Right now, basically every brand and company that has any connection with Doc is in the process of cutting ties, which is pretty standard with this type of situation. Friends and connections will be lost, supporters, money, the shunning process has currently begun. Anytime a public figure comes under scrutiny, that person is almost unanimously denounced permanently. They're then labeled as a bad person, and in the eyes of the internet, there really is no coming back from that. Now, I want to tell you guys a quick story of mine. One of my lifelong friends is currently in prison, and to be honest with you, he's probably never getting out. Multiple armed bank robberies, kidnapping, and attempted murder. He will either spend the rest of his life in prison or he'll come out when he's extremely old and nobody will remember him. I've known this man basically my entire life, and I know him better than almost anyone out there. My friend is genuinely one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. He's been there for me when no one else was. My parents would tell you about how respectful of a person he is. He's just the kind of guy who he lights up every room he walks into. He makes everyone feel loved and appreciated. If you're someone who doesn't know him and you're just looking at what he did, it's very easy to say, just another thug, lock him up forever, society's better without him. Most people would say he's a bad person, but most people don't know him. They just know the things that he did to get into trouble. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that my friend is a good person. He's just a good person who did some bad things, like everyone else out there. A good person who made mistakes in life, mistakes that are not excusable and that he rightfully has to pay the price for. But that small group of mistakes does not define who my friend is as a human. And I say all that to say this. I don't know Dr. Disrespect. I can't speak on his character or who he is as a man. I see what's allowed to be seen by the public, and that's it. I see this situation that Doc's currently in, and I say, he did something bad, something he shouldn't have. And those actions come with consequences. Those brand deals that are now gone, the ventures that are lost, the relationships, the following, that's the price he's got to pay. And he should have thought of that before he did what he did. I've watched a few Doc videos in the past. I wouldn't say I'm a fan or a follower by any means. And this situation definitely doesn't have me running out getting ready to tier 3 sub to the guy. But the question, is Doc a bad guy? I have no idea. Is he a good guy? I still don't know. I think it's unfair that we as people get this false power from the internet where we get to decide people's moral stance as a being. Social media only shows us a glimpse of who people are, and we feel the need to say, okay, this person's good or this person's bad based on what we're allowed to see. And it's just not our jobs. Whether or not Doc is a bad person can only be told by the people who know him, his family, his friends, his colleagues, the people who have insight on who he is when the camera's off. I think about my friend in prison all the time. And it hurts my heart to know that for the rest of his life, he'll be looked at as this subhuman monster, because I know the real him, and I know that's the furthest thing from the truth. Good people can do bad things. And because I know that to be true, I know that what Dr. Disrespect did was bad, and it's going to define his career. It's going to define his relationships. But this one thing doesn't need to be the thing that defines who Dr. Disrespect is as a person. There's a part of this story that in stories just like this one always goes untalked about. I really want this to now start the dialogue around taking the security of kids online more seriously. Let's just be real. There's creeps and people with bad intentions all over the place, and for some reason, kids are allowed to just be in the midst of all of it without any precautionary measures. Thank God that nothing happened in this scenario other than those messages, at least that we know of. But not all stories are as lucky as that. And it's got to make you wonder, why are minors allowed to just do whatever on here? A 13-year-old can go make a Twitter account right now, and we all know the cesspool that website is. Same with Discord. Minors can, with no supervision, just join any server they want out there, not knowing what kind of people they're going to come into contact with. You've got websites that have no business being seen by kids, and it's as simple as those kids clicking a little button that says, I'm 18 to gain access. Now, many people like to blame the kids or the parents, saying you shouldn't be lying about your age, or the parents should be paying closer attention to what their kids are doing on the internet. And I agree with the sentiment, but I disagree with those things being the things to blame. If a 12-year-old kid sneaks out of the house and goes to a strip club, are you going to say it's the parents' fault? You're going to say, what kind of business is this that they let a child walk in the door like that? You would assume that places that aren't suited for kids would have security measures to not allow kids in, as they all usually do. And the fact is, kids should not have the access that they currently do on the internet. This isn't victim blaming. This is saying, hey, we acknowledge that the world is full of freaks, so let's do everything we can to protect children from that. A child should not have the ability to private message adults freely. Like, think about how insane of a concept that is. Your kids have the ability to go on a website like Twitch or Twitter and have conversations with grown adults that no one else can see. Why is this a thing that's just accepted? I understand that what I'm talking about is basically completely restructuring the foundation of the internet with regulations and insane security features. It would be lots of time and money, but eventually Something like this has to be done, right? We can't just go on forever with the internet being this digital version of the Wild West where people have the ability to maneuver however they want, because we're just going to continue to get more and more situations like this and stuff that's significantly worse. Every time I see a story like this, one of the first things I think of is, why is this allowed to keep happening? Listen, once you're 18, you can vote, buy a house, go to jail. You're a big boy now, so by all means, enjoy whatever it is you want to enjoy on the internet. But until that day comes, there needs to be more features in place that makes it so kids and adults can't interact in the way that they currently can online. And I want to finish here by talking about my least favorite thing in this situation, outside of obviously talking to minors. The fact that this allegation was proven true gives a false validity to people who jump to conclusions on allegations, and I really dislike that. Once the original tweet went up with the allegations, there were people excited to denounce and hate on Dr. Disrespect, and now they get to go, see, we were right all along, giving them this sense of justification in not wanting proof of things, and that's a dangerous game to play. During this story, a bunch of people in my comments made me aware of a guy named Inquisitor, who was a creator that had allegations on him for grooming. He received tons of hate and backlash, and he ended up taking his life on a TikTok live in 2023. Afterwards, it came out that those allegations were false. Someone lost their life because of people being excited to jump to conclusions off of allegations. No one has ever lost their life by waiting for evidence. So you tell me, what's the better option? Was it even really that hard to just wait? The allegation was revealed and within 3 days we had a whole confession. You couldn't wait 3 days to form a valid and logical opinion on something. When people jump on every allegation they come across, they never have to deal with the consequences of doing so. Inquisitor is one of many who will never get to see another day, and the people who assisted that, they get to just continue like nothing happened. Move on to the next hate train. If there's one thing from this whole thing that I actually agree with Dr. Disrespect on, it's that the internet has become a very negative-filled space. Everyone is so anxious to find the next person to dislike, to band together to assist in the next person's demise. There's no empathy or logic even. It's all just hate-driven, feeling justified because they believe they're a good person who stands on positive principles, when the reality is everyone hates everyone and they're patiently waiting for the next time to explode on somebody. I see people taking this opportunity to get jokes off and post memes as if anything about this is funny. There's a bunch of people that are seriously affected by this situation, and rather than even have the slightest amount of compassion, people are more focused on posting memes because they care more about likes than human beings. I hope Dr. Disrespect really understands that what he did was unacceptable. I hope that he gets the help that he needs to better himself and come out of this in a more positive mental state. I hope his family and friends, whether supportive of him or not, are in a good place and that they also get the guidance that they need. And lastly, I hope the kid who was affected by this is doing okay. I'm sure they didn't want to see it go down like this, and they probably feel bad or even guilty, like they're responsible for Doc's fall off. At the end of the day, they're just a kid who's a fan of this guy, and they probably felt like getting to speak to him was everything. If by some crazy chance you're out there watching, understand this doesn't fall on you at all. You were not the adult in the situation who was tasked with making the right or wrong decision. Hopefully, this isn't one of those situations where it's a domino effect of a bunch of similar stories coming to light. The internet has become such an integral part of our existence at this point. I just want to see it be a better place overall. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, or don't.